The first crack sounded like God snapping a twig. Then the entire back half of Eagle's Crown Ridge, the dramatic rock spine looming over our HOA, groaned, shivered, and peeled away like a chocolate shard off a cake. Somewhere up the slope, a line of brand-new scenic overlook benches twisted sideways and disappeared into a churning mess of mud and granite. A pine tree toppled in slow motion, taking the HOA's brand-new Eagle's Crown inspirational quote sign with it. On the ground below, ankle-deep in cold brown water, I watched my backyard fence lift, tilt, and begin sliding toward what was rapidly becoming not ground anymore. Behind me, in a neon poncho and waterproof visor, stood HOA President Cheryl Lagrange, screaming into a walkie-talkie. "This is not on me," she shrieked. The contractor said the ridge could handle a little digging. Lightning flashed. Thunder rolled. The ridge answered by splitting open another 10 feet with a wet, tearing sound. Beside me, a firefighter stared at the collapsing slope, then at the muddy trench carved right into the base of the mountain, lined with cheap drainage pipe and a crooked sign that read Future Eagle's Crown HOA Nature Path, coming soon. He turned to Cheryl with disbelief written across his face. "You dug into a load-bearing section of the ridge for a walking trail?" "It was in the vision plan," she shot back. "The community wanted vistas." Another crack echoed through the storm. Another chunk of mountain calved off like an iceberg. I tightened my raincoat, watching the place where my property line used to be. "My name is Noah Briggs," I said, mostly to myself, mostly to keep from laughing. And 3 weeks ago, I told her this would happen. I moved to High Hollow at Eagle's Crown because I am a simple man who likes 3 things. Quiet, a view, and property lines that don't move downhill during storms. I am 34 years old, work remote as a civil engineer specializing in, and this is the fun part, slope stability and drainage. You know, the kind of boring science that keeps houses from becoming sleds. My place backed right up to Eagle's Crown Ridge, that rocky spine everyone used in their real estate listings. Stunning mountain views. Ridge-protected privacy. Feel one with nature. HOA fees apply. Enter Cheryl Lagrange. 50s, aggressively highlighted hair, wardrobe that lived somewhere between country club fundraiser and military dictator on vacation. HOA president since the community opened. She introduced herself the first week I moved in. "I am Cheryl," she said with exaggerated enthusiasm. "We are so excited to have young professionals in High Hollow." She emphasized young professionals like it was a rare Pokemon. "We have very high standards here. But don't worry, I will guide you." She handed me a binder thick enough to kill a raccoon. High Hollow HOA, Community Guidelines and Long-Term Vision. On page 3 was a section titled Phase 2, Amenity Enhancement, with a computer-rendered image of a walking trail snaking into the ridge, little people silhouettes staring wistfully into the distance. "The Eagle's Crown Nature Path," she said, eyes bright. "Our crown jewel. Scenic overlooks. Meditation nooks. Maybe a gazebo." I glanced at the illustration. The trail was carved right into the lower flank of the ridge behind my house. "That's a load-bearing slope," I said carefully. "You are going to need serious engineering for that." She smiled like I had complimented her shoes. "Oh, we have a contractor. He did my kitchen." I stared at her. "He did your kitchen?" "Yes," she said proudly. "He installed a waterfall island. He knows stone." I would later learn that knows stone meant owns a skid steer and has a guy with a pickup. The first sign of trouble was not dramatic. It was fluorescent. Specifically, fluorescent orange stakes appearing along the base of the ridge behind my house, followed by spray-painted lines and a laminated sign. Eagle's Crown HOA, Ridge Enhancement Project. Improving your views, your property values, and your wellness. I walked out back just as a crew unloaded a small excavator from a trailer with Marv's custom improvements and outdoor kitchens painted on the side. A guy in a soaked baseball cap checked a crumpled paper. "You Noah?" "Yeah." He pointed at the ridge. "We are cutting in a trail and drainage trench along this line." My engineer brain started whispering nope in 6 dialects. "At the toe of the slope?" I asked. "Who designed that?" "Cheryl," he said. "HOA lady. Got it all right here." He tapped his binder, which contained exactly one hand-drawn sketch labeled swale, with a smiley face. I marched to Cheryl's house. She opened the door before I even knocked, as if she had been hovering behind it like a shark. "Noah, have you seen the progress? It is going to be stunning. You will have front-row access from your yard. You can't trench into the toe of a ridge like that without a geotech study," I said firmly. "You are undermining the support. That rock is not one solid chunk. It is fractured. You destabilize it, it will move." She did the thing where people smile at you like you are a slow child. "I know you are in construction or something," she said dismissively. "But the board already voted." "Engineering," I said. "I design slopes so they don't fail." "Well," she said brightly, "then you will appreciate that we are finally addressing water issues. The board has received complaints about soggy lawns. Water runs off that ridge. Because the ridge exists," I said. "It is supposed to." She waved a manicured hand. "We are just giving it a path. Nature likes paths. Don't worry. It is on HOA land." 2 days later, there was a brand new ditch carved straight into the bottom of the ridge. Dirt, rock, chunks of root ball, all scooped out into a neat trench that looked exactly like a failure plane waiting for an excuse. I emailed the board. From Noah. Subject: Ridge excavation safety concern. The current work appears to be compromising slope stability. This is a safety issue. I strongly recommend halting construction until a licensed geotechnical engineer reviews the site. Cheryl replied for everyone. "Thank you for your perspective. The board has vetted this thoroughly. Please refrain from interfering with approved projects. Negative emails damage community morale." Then she started telling neighbors, in that whisper shout people use at mailboxes, that I was anti-amenity and one of those men who hates community. The crew kept digging. They installed cheap corrugated plastic pipe in a semi-straight line and covered part of it with loose gravel. No anchors. No reinforcement. No proper drainage design. They cut 3 small notches into the ridge face for future overlook pads. One was directly above my property. I looked at that notch and thought, if we get a bad storm, that is coming down. Spoiler. We got a bad storm. The forecast called it a once-in-a-decade atmospheric river, which is meteorologists speak for hope you like sideways water. By noon, the ground was saturated. By 4 p.m., the ridge enhancement swale behind my house was a shallow brown river slamming straight into the trench at the toe. I grabbed my rain gear, headlamp, and phone and went out back to film. The slope above the trench was weeping water in sheets. Little debris slides were already peeling off, smearing mud into the flowing trench. I texted Cheryl. "You need to stop this trench from taking more water ASAP. It is undercutting the slope. This is dangerous." She replied, "Please stop dramatizing normal weather. Our improvements are designed to handle storms." I wrote back, "Your improvements are currently eroding the base of a fractured slope. Call someone who knows what a factor of safety is." No response. Thunder shook the windows. The trench side started sloughing into the flow. My engineer brain went from nope to oh hell. That is when a small section of the ridge face above the trench let go with a muted thump, like someone dropping a mattress. Mud and rock slid down into the trench, choking it, redirecting water sideways, toward my fence. I called 911. "Yeah, hi. I would like to report an active slope failure behind High Hollow Court." "Yes, slope failure. A landslide. It is small now. It might not stay that way." By the time the first fire truck showed up, the trench had become a brown torrent, and the water was starting to circle around my fence posts like sharks. Cheryl appeared in my backyard gate, wrapped in a branded HOA rain poncho. "What did you do?" she yelled, as if I had personally offended the clouds. "The mountain is moving because you chopped its feet off," I snapped. She waved her walkie-talkie. "We have professionals handling this." The professional was Marv, standing ankle-deep in muck trying to jam more gravel into the collapsing trench with a shovel like he was plugging a volcano. A firefighter in a helmet and rain jacket walked up, studied the trench, looked at my slope, then at the ridge above. "This is not good," he said. "We are calling County Geotech." Cheryl puffed up. We already had it approved. The HOA has its own process. The firefighter stared at her. Ma'am, you do not get to overrule gravity. He got on the radio. Minutes later, county trucks arrived. A woman in a yellow hard hat and a jacket labeled geotechnical climbed out, took one look at the trench, and went very still. Who cut into the toe of this slope? Cheryl stepped forward like she was accepting an award. The board authorized a necessary improvement, she said. Our contractor assured us. The geotech held up a hand. Turn off the equipment. Move everyone back. You have undercut a fractured, saturated ridge. It is not done moving. Lightning cracked. The ridge answered with a groan. Then the mountain split. To be clear, it was not like the whole mountain just ripped in half like a movie. It started with a long, low rumble, the kind that makes your stomach vibrate. Then a jagged crack opened along one of the old fracture lines near the top, right where the overlook pad had been hacked in. Chunks of rock and soil sloughed off, then accelerated, transforming into a roiling debris flow that slammed down toward the trench like a muddy freight train. The firefighters yanked us all backward as the lower slope collapsed. Dirt, boulders, and 3 unlucky pine trees plowed into the trench and over it, surging downhill until it smacked into my fence and a section of the HOA's beloved walking path that had not even been poured yet. Part of my yard disappeared. So did the cheap pipe. The trench? Gone, replaced by a fresh scar that looked like nature had taken a swipe at the HOA plans. The county geotech swore under her breath, then turned to Cheryl. What you did, she said evenly, was unauthorized grading and excavation on a geologically sensitive slope without any engineering review. You have destabilized a ridge that backs multiple homes. Cheryl attempted a smile that looked more like a grimace. The HOA owns that land, she said. It is our right to improve it. Ownership does not override state grading regulations, the geotech replied. Or common sense. She pointed at the scar. You have triggered a slope failure. This storm is not over. If it goes again, it could impact more homes. I am red tagging access to the ridge area. Red tagging? I asked. She did not look away from Cheryl. Means nobody touches this slope without permits, engineering plans, and my signature. Including your HOA. County code enforcement showed up. So did a guy from county risk management with a clipboard and the exhausted look of someone who has seen this exact flavor of stupid before. They took photos of the trench, the cheap pipe, the hand-drawn plan. They photographed Cheryl's laminated Ridge Enhancement Task Force badge. What is that? The risk guy asked. Cheryl lifted her chin. It is an official role. The community voted. No, they did not, muttered my neighbor, standing under an umbrella. You just printed those after you saw ATED talk about placemaking. Within hours, the county had issued a stop work order on all HOA ridge projects, opened an investigation into unpermitted grading and slope modification, and informed Cheryl that, as the signatory on the contractor agreement, she might be personally liable. Next morning, while everyone else was still wringing out their basements, the HOA board held an emergency meeting in the clubhouse. For once, Cheryl looked less like a queen and more like someone who had just realized the throne was flammable. The emergency meeting was standing room only. People showed up in rain boots, coats, carrying photos of cracked patios and shifting fences. Someone had printed out a picture of my yard with the caption "Welcome to Noah's Slide." On the whiteboard at the front, agenda, ridge incident, and liability discussion. Cheryl tried to gavel us in with her usual "let us remember we are all neighbors," but it did not land the same way when half the neighbors had mud in their garages. The county geotech, the risk management guy, and a lawyer from the county council's office sat at a table like the world's most humorless panel of judges. The lawyer went first. Let me be very clear, he said. The excavation done at the base of Eagle's Crown Ridge was illegal. It did not have permits, it did not have engineering approval, and it violated county code. He tapped a stack of papers. We have documentation showing the HOA president signed the work order and directed the contractor to proceed despite concerns raised by at least one homeowner with relevant expertise. 40 heads turned toward me. I raised a hand, feeling very I told you so and also vaguely nauseous. Cheryl cleared her throat. "I was acting on behalf of the board," she said. "The community's desire for amenities." "That is the other issue," the lawyer said. "The board minutes show no recorded vote approving this specific scope." He flipped a page. "In fact, all we see are references to vision casting and brainstorming future amenities. That is not authorization for excavation." The county risk guy chimed in. "Preliminary estimates put slope remediation in the high six figures," he said. "Stabilizing the ridge will require retaining structures, drainage improvements, and monitoring." The room sucked in a breath. "Who pays for that?" someone asked. "For the unauthorized work?" "The party that caused it," he said pointedly. "The HOA as an entity, and possibly, personally, the person who exceeded their authority." Every eye in the room pivoted back to Cheryl so hard it felt like gravity shifted. She tried to laugh it off. "We have insurance," she said. "The association is covered." The lawyer gave her a look usually reserved for toddlers about to drink from the dog bowl. "Insurance does not usually cover damages from willful violations of code," he said. "And even if they do, the carrier will absolutely want to know who authorized this." The treasurer, who had been suspiciously quiet, finally spoke. "I did not sign anything," he said. "I did not even see that contract until yesterday." The secretary nodded. "Me either." Cheryl kept saying, "I will handle it." Someone in the back shouted, "Yeah, look how that went." Motion time. A board member I had barely seen before, mild, cardigan, permanent stress wrinkles, stood up. "I move that we remove Cheryl Lagrange as HOA president effective immediately," she said, voice shaking, "and cooperate fully with the county in determining liability." Seconded. Voted. Passed. The room erupted in low, angry chatter. For the first time since I had moved in, Cheryl had no microphone, no gavel, no power. Just a mountain she had made very angry and a stack of paperwork with her signature on it. County, for their part, declined to criminally charge her. Apparently they save that for truly spectacular disasters, but they did fine her individually for unpermitted grading on a protected slope. The fine was $12,000. When the clerk read the amount aloud at the county hearing, Cheryl's face went white, then red, then something close to purple. She opened her mouth twice, but no words came out. Just a small, strangled sound like air leaking from a tire. That was the moment she realized. You can bully paint colors. You can invent 7 different rules about mailbox fonts. But you cannot gaslight geology.